Science is a posteriori investigation. One of the most important things about science, and why we even bother to bring it up here, is that unlike much of philosophy, it is an a posteriori discipline, which means that conclusions are not made at the beginning or on the basis of independent logical deduction. The term for this is a priori, but at the end of investigation. Most of philosophy has been about seeking to provide explanations that are not necessarily rooted in actual experimental observation, but on mental and logical proofs. However, natural science does not and cannot conclude before an experiment has been performed, what the experiment will disclose. There might be a well thought out hypothesis, but only the experimental investigation itself will disclose reality to us, and, what is perhaps most important of all, it does not depend on our preconceived notions. Science, especially post-Einsteinian science, has been radically dedicated to allowing its subject matter to shape its actual practice. An investigation of nature is not able to step away from the reality that is going to be studied and work out its methodology independently and then try to make reality fit into that method. Instead, the reality itself must force questions upon the scientist. Only when reality is forging the questions to be answered do we find any useful information. This information also, more often than not, raises more questions, and as the cycle repeats, our knowledge becomes deeper and more nuanced, yet remains faithful to what we are studying because it has provided the questions, not us. If this is the case, then we cannot define science in a purely general way, where everyone agrees to a particular scientific method and all have a fixed way of doing science, regardless of what is being studied. To do so is to refuse to allow reality to shape our understanding of it. Instead, each particular science is defined and shaped by the reality itself. If there happens to be a similarity in the various methods, it is to be remembered that this is a judgment to be made after the fact, not a decision forced upon the various sciences beforehand and from an independent source. If science is shaped by faithful probing into a reality and different sciences are distinguished by their different subject matter, then theology can be a science, provided there is access to real knowledge of God, which we do believe there is through Christ and in the Spirit. Biology is the study of living things, physics is the study of nature at its most basic levels, and theology is the study of God. Our questions are shaped by the reality of God. That is to say, we know God only kata phusin, according to its nature. When we formulate answers, those answers are judged to be accurate as far as they go, or inaccurate by the reality of God, and we are bound by the God who actually exists to speak rightly of him. It is in this sense that we can call theology a science, and indeed it is good for us to do so, because it keeps us rigorously dedicated to God as revealed in Christ, and not to a God of our own making.